Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Criterion. It's pretty busy on the release front so far with Criterion and another Janus contemporary. It's Lynch Oz, directed by Alexandre O Phillippe. The film released in June 2022 and it's distributed by Dogwoof. It looks at the influence of the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz on the work of American director David Lynch. It's split into 6 chapters, and it focuses on the viewpoint of various filmmakers or critics who provide their own perspective on the subject, including Karen Kusama, Rodney Asher, John Waters, Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, and David Lowry. The film incorporates hundreds of short clips illustrating the connection between Lynch and The Wizard of Oz. All these contributors appear to be fans of The Wizard of Oz, especially David Lynch, and what their interaction tells us is the juxtaposition of waking reality and another reality. That's a hidden reality, buried reality, or even transcendent reality, which is just as real, or indeed more real than anything else. All this is well laid out, with some contributors repeating themselves and each other more than once. For instance, comments on the 1957 sci-fi movie, which itself might be a missing link between Lynch and Oz. Arthur Penn's 1962 film, The Miracle Worker, is also touched upon, and in itself, this is a very Lynchian film about Helen Keller, and also the motif of the curtain used in many of Lynch's films, behind which the wizard himself is concealed. And many of the contributors digress into areas which are only tangentially concerned with Lynch and Oz. The film also shows Lynch himself discoursing on what a travesty it is not to be allowed a final cut. Now, Alexandre O Phillippe was born in Switzerland, but he is based in Denver, Colorado. He's carved out a nice niche for himself. He makes movies about movies, or rather, about our obsession with movies. He shares his obsession as a filmmaker, which allows him to overlap the role of the superfan, critic, and historian, all wrapped up into one, in a way that's candy for a certain breed of film freak. For instance, in Document of the Dead, he gave a heady exploration of the Night of the Living Dead and what the rise of the zombie film meant in the 1960s. He looked at the metaphysics of the film Psycho, and in particular, the actual shower scene. And in The Origins of Alien, he deconstructed the chest-bursting scene. As well, of course, his 2019 documentary Leap of Faith about William Friedkin talking about his film The Exorcist. Philippe's films are such insightful and unique expressions of cinemania that it takes us a while to realise he's made a quartet of documentaries about the 4 key horror landmarks from the last 65 years. Ooh, perhaps he'll turn his attention to the Chainsaw Experience next. Who knows? Lynch Oz premiered at the Tribeca Festival in New York, and it isn't just a piece of film love in documentary form. The very premise of the movie attempts to coax out the subterranean connections that exist, sometimes tenuous, between the work of Lynch and The Wizard of Oz. It's a somewhat lofty and rather abstract critical perception, but that's why this film is the first of Philippe's documentaries that feels a touch academic in nature. In the future, it could be shown to film studies students at college. The insights within the film percolate through, and they have been drawn from the voices of the contributors mainly, with Philippe's own voice more subdued, and they're only too happy, of course, to expound on their theories. Philippe himself has done the shaping. He is the invisible critic. Now, there are motifs like the ruby slippers, for instance, echoed in Lynch's use of the ruby high-heeled shoes and the thick, billowy curtains used in Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks' Fire Walk With Me, or indeed the name Dorothy Valens, also in Blue Velvet. More subtle references include a battered still image of the Wizard of Oz on Lynch's wall in his paint studio while he's being interviewed in The Art Life in the Criterion collection. And there's also Lynch playing the skewed over the rainbow on the trumpet. Lynch has made a secret of how influential The Wizard of Oz has been to him. Now, The Wizard of Oz was more a fantasy, more real than reality itself. Lynch Oz is bursting with ideas about it and about how it affected the consciousness of David Lynch, but the movie is too pie in the sky to make it quite over the rainbow. Now, once again, this is not a Criterion release. As such, it's only bare bones. There's a Meet the Filmmakers feature with a new interview with director Alexandre O Phillippe and a trailer. And the film has a running time of 109 minutes, and it's a 1:77:1 aspect ratio. And of course, it's already available in the UK, you can see it behind me, as a dog woof Blu-ray. So UK viewers can also enjoy this film. The UK edition has an advantage though. It's a full-length commentary from the director. From me, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.